It's the first working day after the 2014 municipal elections, and we spent our day tracking down the local mayors to see how they're reacting to their new roles. First up, Larry Jangula of Courtenay. Congratulations, Mayor.
Thank you so much.
So the big change for you this year around will certainly be that it's a 4-year term. What do you think the 4 years will mean for the mayor?
Well, I think it's interesting. Amazingly enough, 3 years went by really quickly. When you look at the last term, the 3 years, your first year you're kind of learning the ropes, you're getting sort of set up. The second year you're trying to institute things you're trying to change, and by the third year you're sort of getting ready for the election. So hopefully 4 years will give us more time to work on some of the things we want to plan to do as a council and try to get them completed. It gives us a little more time.
Now that things are going to start to get back into action, what do you see as the priorities for Courtenay?
Well, I think it was pretty clear on how the election went down, pretty clear on the doors we knocked on. My team, myself and others, knocked on about 7,500 doors, and that included doors on West Courtenay, East Courtenay, and in Crown Isle. And pretty much the predominant theme, which will probably not surprise you, was what about Maple Pool? So I'm hoping that the first issue we do as a new council is we stop the lawsuit. This is my preference, and that we basically work with the Friends of Maple Pool to get things into compliance and let those people move on with their lives. That to me is our first big priority.
You, of course, re-elected as mayor, so you kind of are familiar with the office, you know the ropes. What are your personal objectives for this term?
Personal objectives to me for this term is to get the provincial government to have a building up and running as soon as possible at Braidwood, the subsidized housing building that we've talked about. I think that's important. That would be about 33 different low cost or low rental type rooms for people of all different backgrounds, which would help them. The other thing I'd like to see happen is that we would work very hard with the downtown community, landowners, business owners, and come up with a plan that will encourage building, densifying, and come up with a tax scheme and other incentives that'll make it so feasible to build there that they won't look at building anywhere else primarily. That's my hope. And we have discussed some things there, like basically a tax holiday for anyone who takes a building or an existing lot and puts a new building on it. We would give them a 5-year tax holiday where they would only pay taxes on whatever the value is today, not what the value is with the new building. Also cut down their development cost charges, encourage them to, of course, build apartments above, which will help with the density, and that is another issue. And just basically being really careful about how we spend the taxpayers' dollars, keeping our infrastructure up to snuff, our roads and our bridge, 5th Street Bridge. I'm hoping in this term we'll have 5th Street Bridge painted. So I'm hoping that in 4 years things will look a lot different.
One last thing, the referendum. What kind of message do you take from the response to the referendum?
This is on the support for housing. I think it's a real mixed message. I don't think there's a real clear message there. I think the positive thing is the community is very much in favor, I think, by a majority, of trying to help. The question is, how is the money being spent and where is it going? And the concern I heard from people was, well, the regional district, through various different programs, spent about $450,000 of taxpayers' money. Hardly any of it ended up going to feed people that needed food or house people. And my understanding from this prior to this is that the regional district indicated that they would likely have to hire another staff member at about a $75,000 bill and take a administration fee of $133,000. Well, there's already $200,000 plus that's off the tab. So I don't. That doesn't sit well with me. I would really much prefer, and I wasn't at the regional district, a much more straightforward question, something to the effect of, for the next year, for 2015, would you agree to a $5 or $10 fee, and the money collected would go to Salvation Army or Dawn to Dawn or Habitat or any of those groups that work with disadvantaged people. So that, you know, if you gave that money to Habitat, if you gave them $200,000, they'd buy a duplex lot and they would build 2 more houses just like that. And I think there'd be a lot more bang for the buck doing that, and more buy-in from the public as well.
The first day on the job after the municipal election, of course, is a busy one for all of the mayors. And we caught up with Paul Ives at his private office. First off, I want to know, how do you feel about a 4-year term?
Well, it's a lot of responsibility, I think, that the voters have placed in us for 4 years. Of course, our province was the last in Canada to go that route. And now we have a little bit more time, but there's a lot of challenges coming up over the next 4 years, so we won't be resting on our laurels too long here. We'll get right down to work as soon as we get sworn in 2 weeks' time.
Well, then let's get right down to work. What do you see as the big priorities for the town of Comox?
Well, the big thing that we heard on the campaign trail and leading up to the campaign was about downtown vitalization. And like many communities across Canada and on Vancouver Island, we've got some work to do to make sure our downtown gets to be more vibrant. And to do that, we've got some incentive plans. We've got some other tools in our arsenal that we'll be able to use to encourage more development and essentially more people living downtown Comox to support the businesses there. One of the things we'll do, starting as early as next week, is I'm going to sit down with the BIA. They have their annual general meeting coming up, and they've asked me to speak to them, and we'll work in partnership with them and all along with our Economic Development Society to make sure that we're attracting the right kind of development to our community that respects the environment and also provides amenities, and of course, again, the fact that people will be living downtown is, I think, of utmost importance. So that's a big challenge I think all of us heard on the campaign trail, and we'll try to act on that as soon as we can.
You're returning as mayor, so you know the office, you know some of the parameters of it. What are some of your personal objectives for this term?
Well, I always like to pursue goals and objectives in a team approach, and I'll be sitting down with each of the councillors here over the next few days leading up to inaugural meeting, and we'll see what kind of things they would like to do. There's lots of council appointments to deal with, regional district, economic development, library board, and we'll try to get the strengths that we have from the new council into those positions. And we'll continue to work collaboratively, and I suppose that's the approach that I've always taken, and working with our MLA, our Member of Parliament, our First Nations neighbours, and the regional district, of course, to try to do things together, and certainly that's what we'll be doing as we go forward. A big challenge for the town will be the future role of St. Joe's, and we identified that during the campaign as something that will be happening over the next 3 years, so that'll come to us very quickly, and making sure that, again, we maintain a significant presence there for the health care of our community. We know the acute care beds in emergency and other surgery type operations are moving up to the new hospital, but we see a future role working with St. Joe's around extended care, perhaps an expanded seniors care type facility. So that'll be quite exciting, I think, as we move forward.
Two of the mayors in the Valley had to compete for their seats, but Leslie Baird in Cumberland retained her position through acclamation. That hasn't dampened her enthusiasm any. Must feel nice to be back for a new term.
4 years, it's a long term, but it's going to be well worth it.
What do you think the difference that extra year will make?
I think it will make a lot of difference in that you set your plans in the first year and you can follow through. And a lot of plans take a while to accomplish because of all the paperwork and the information that you have to acquire. So projects don't happen overnight.
Now, speaking of what might or might not happen overnight, what do you see as the priorities facing you and the new council?
The priorities over the years really haven't changed for Cumberland. The major priority, of course, is infrastructure, sewer, water, and roads. And those are what keeps your community alive, and people need to know that what we're doing is working in that way in infrastructure. And we do have a plan where we do road work every year, and we're sticking to that plan. And you can see that this year that we did a project on Maryport, and that will continue on as long as the support of council is there.
You've been in this game before, you know the office. What are your personal priorities?
My personal priority this year will be Maple Lake, acquiring that as a park. The other one is the downtown core, and we need to do some revitalization projects in that, keeping the history alive, but bringing up the road work and a few other items like that. Looking at putting the boulevards back in, and parking issues that are becoming, an issue for us.
What kind of a message or mandate does the referendum give you?
We actually supported the referendum to find out how the people of Cumberland felt, and it was very enlightening to see that the majority of the people in Cumberland have no problem putting taxpayers' dollars into helping homelessness and affordable housing. So we will be putting something together to look at different things that we could do as a community, because we do have homeless in Cumberland.
So congratulations to our three mayors. In the Comox Valley, I'm Mark Hanley for Shaw TV.